Hello everybody, welcome to this series of lectures titled Learning Communication Systems with LT Spice. In the last class, we saw how to design a pulse width modulation circuit and demodulation circuit with LT Spice. Like I have been telling, this is not a theoretical course, it's an just a small course on how to implement various communication system circuits in LT Spice, and today we will see how to generate pulse position modulation signals and also how to demodulate it. So this was the signal which message signal which needs to be modulated. So in the last class we saw how to generate pulse width modulation where the width of the pulse. So this is one width of the pulse. This is the second pulse and the width is this, and you see here it is negative out here. The signal amplitude is very low and hence the width of the pulse was very thin width, right? And again here the amplitude increases and hence the width of the pulse increases. Okay, and now what we are going to see today is something known as pulse position modulation. Okay, here if you see all the pulse, they have the same width. Okay, but the position with respect to the previous pulse, that keep changes with respect to the input signal, right? So if you see here, here the width is more and hence the distance between these two pulses is very large, and here you have a small width of the pulse, and hence these are all right, they're close to each other. So so what we are going to generate now is something known as a pulse position modulation waveform. We are going to derive that from the pulse width modulation signal itself, right? So if you what we are going to see here, we are going to use this negative edge of the PWM to trigger a monostable, and then we are going to keep it, and the next trigger is going to be generated from the next falling edge of the PWM. So if I am going to explain here, see this is the first edge, right? This is the first this we already saw how to generate PWM, and from PWM we are going to generate PPM, right? So this is the edge. So with this edge, I am going to trigger a monostable multivibrator which will give me a one pulse. Okay, now the next pulse trigger, negative pulse, I am going to trigger one. Now if you see this negative edge depends on the pulse width, and that pulse width will result in the pulse position out here, right? Similarly, here comes the next here comes the next negative edge of the PWM, right? And obviously that width okay provides the is depending on the signal, and that is going to trigger my monostable, and this pulse width is same. But if you see the distance here, okay, the distance between here to here, and that depends on this distance, right? So from the negative edge to the next negative edge, so this distance is proportional to the message signal, and hence this distance also is proportional to the message signal. The difference from here to here is the pulse width remains constant, the distance between the pulses, okay, E is proportional to the message signal. So that's the difference between a PWM and a PPM. So this is an IC which we had used for generating the PWM. The same IC 555 we are going to use for generating the PPM also. So just a small recap. Inside the IC 555 I have two comparators, one latch and one transistor. So at this node I have 2/3 VCC. This is internally I give VCC here, and 2/3 VCC comes to the negative terminal of the comparator, and here 1/3 VCC comes to the positive terminal of the bottom comparator. So these three 5K resistances are inbuilt within the chip. Okay, so we are going to use this particular chip, right? So whenever the voltage, okay, at this threshold voltage, okay, goes above 2/3 VCC, this is set. Okay, this flip-flop will be set, and since I am taking output from this will go to 0, and this transistor, the discharge will be turned on, right? And whenever this trigger signal, because I am giving on the positive terminal, I am giving 1/3 VCC. Whenever this trigger signal falls below 1/3, this will be reset. Okay, this SR latch will be reset. So this is actually a reset bar. So 4 for normal operation, 4 I am going to tie with VCC. This is the reset bar signal actually of the IC. Okay, now whenever this signal is the trigger signal here, I am giving it a low signal out here. So this is a positive, already 1/3 VCC. So this has to fall below 1/3 VCC. Then this will become a 1, and a reset will be given. So reset will take this to 1, and since this is reset, Q will go to 0, and the discharge transistor will be switched off. So how to configure it? So this is how we are going to configure it. So this is the PWM signal which I am getting, right? So PWM, okay, what I want is every negative edge of the PWM, I want a trigger signal to come here. Okay, so there is a capacitor which blocks the DC signal. So I have this positive spikes and the negative spikes, and whenever this positive transitions will generate a positive spike, and this falling edge will generate a negative spike. This positive spike, I don't want this signal to go to VDD plus large value, so I have put a diode here and I put a VCC here. So this voltage can max go up to VCC plus 0.7. Okay, that I am giving to the trigger input. Okay, so but that positive voltage will not do any changes here, because here already I have a 1/3 VCC here, and more voltage will only push a 0 here, so that's not going to reset here. Okay, but what matters is whenever during the negative edge, this will be pulled to 0. Okay, so I have a 0 coming here, and this flip flop will reset to 1 here, right? This flip flop will be reset to 1. Okay, so the output, okay, no, it will be reset to 0. The flip flop will be reset to 0. IC 555 output, okay, this is the output, and this will go to 1. Okay, the moment this trigger signal, so whenever during the negative edge, okay, this would immediately go to 1. And we saw when I have a 0 here, this is turned off, right? So this discharge is turned off. So this starts getting charged. This capacitor gets charged. Okay, and when this value reaches 2/3 VCC, because if you see here, now this capacitance it's coming from here. On the negative terminal, I have given 2/3 VCC. So once this voltage goes beyond 2/3 VCC, this will be set to 1. So this will become 1 again here. Okay, and the output would go to 0. So this will go to 1 and it will come back to a 0. So every negative edge, it will create a small pulse. This duration will be 0.69 RC. That pulse width can be controlled by this R and C values. Okay, this R and this C together, that RC value will define the width of this capacity, this width, for how long this is going to remain on. Okay, now the purpose of this particular capacitor is, see, if I give a very narrow spike out here, that may not be sufficient for this to make a flip. Okay, because it is to be reset, so I need to probably have some hold time. Okay, so if I put a capacitance here, that will allow this low voltage to remain for a certain amount of time, and ensuring that this is doing the flip. Okay, so this is the circuit with I am going to show the simulations, and then we'll see. Okay, so this is the PWM generator which we saw in the last class, right? So let me close this. So we saw, let me go step by step. Let me remove all these things. This is the signal, and let me show the PWM first. So this was the PWM which we generated in the last class. So you can refer to the last video. So PWM, and every negative edge of the PWM, I require a trigger. Okay, so I have used one diode here, a VCC connection here, and a capacitor here. So this is the trigger. So if you see here, see every negative edge, okay, this trigger is being generated. And what is the trigger signal? VCC will not make any difference to the trigger input. Only that 0 signal is going to make a difference. It is going to push the output of the IEEE to 1. So all these negative, so wherever there is a negative edge, okay, here in the PWM, it is generating a negative spike. Okay, negative spike means it is pulling it to logic 0. Okay, so these negative edge are going to trigger my PWM. Okay, and if I plot the PWM, and also let me plot the capacitance. Okay, now if you see here, so let me add some plot plates. This is the moment the trigger is going up, right? The output is going to high. The output is going to high, and this pink is the capacitor voltage. It is getting charged, and the moment it is getting charged to 2/3 VCC, the output is going low. Okay, so this is how. So this if you see here, this signal, the brown one, represents, as per the signal, the distance between the pulses is changing, and that represents a pulse position modeling, right? So if I have to change the width of this pulse, okay, for any requirement, then I need to change this. Suppose I put it as 0.2 micro here. So you will find that the now if you see here, the width of the pulses has increased. Okay, so let me get it back to 0.1 micro. So accordingly, whatever is my requirement, as per that, I get. So this is the now I have gone back to 1 micro. So this is the pulse width. Okay, so that's how I control the pulse width. Now I need to demodulate it. Okay, so how to do a demodulate it? Do the demodulation. So this is the pulse position. So I have used 2 inverters. So when the pulse is high, okay, what happens? This capacitor gets charged, and when the pulse is low, okay, this capacitance gets discharged. Okay, so I need to use a relatively higher capacitance out here. Okay, so let me remove the other signals. Let me remove the trigger, this capacitance, PWM. Let the signal remain here. Okay, this is the pulse PPM signal. Okay, now let me plot what happens to this. I've just given the net name as F. So, if you see here, okay, whenever the pulse is on, it is getting charged, and whenever the pulse is 0, it is getting discharged, right? And the pulse is on, right? So it is getting charged, and here, see, the duration is larger, so it is coming to a lower value. Here the duration is larger, so it is coming to a much lower value. Here again, it is, the duration is larger, so it is getting discharged more. So if you see here, during the pulse it is getting charged, but whereas the discharge, okay, how much the capacitor gets discharged, that depends on how long the transistor is remaining on. Or in other words, okay, this discharge, the total amount by which the capacitor gets discharged, is proportional to the distance between these 2 pulses, okay, which in turn is proportional to the signal. So if you see all these negative values, okay, here, okay, all these are actually proportional to the distance between the pulses, which in turn is proportional to the signal. Okay, so what I have done, I have given this pulse position modulation to 2 inverters and a capacitor. Okay, so if the pulse is going to remain off for a long time, then this capacitor will get discharged to a much smaller voltage, and if the distance between the 2 pulses is very less, then very little discharge would happen, and hence if you see here, the lower values of the voltages across this capacitor is proportional to the sinusoidal input signal, message signal. Okay, Now just to demodulate it, it's the same demodulator which we saw earlier for pulse amplitude modulation as well as the pulse width modulation. So if I give it to the, if I pass this signal to the to a low pass filter, so these high frequency variations, okay, that will be filtered out. Only this envelope will be captured here. So if I capture this output, this is my now output demodulated waveform, right? So this is how we can get back our signal. So this is the, so we have used this particular circuit is to generate PWM, and from the PWM we generate this trigger voltage. This trigger voltage is only whenever the PWM signal is going low, and that will generate me a pulse position modulation. Okay, now from the pulse position modulation I am using just two inverters and a capacitor to generate an signal like this, whose negative values will follow the will be proportional to the distance between the pulses, which is in turn proportional to the signal, and then I am passing it through a low pass filter to get my, okay. So with this we will stop it out here, and in the next class we are going to learn about phase shift gain.